So, the latest and hopefully last of the Mission Impossible movies just dropped recently. And the big question is, does it end the franchise run on a high note and pay off setups from Dead Reckoning, or was the mission compromised? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to watch this movie review and find out the answers for yourself. There will be spoilers ahead, so be careful for the rest of the duration. This recording will self destruct in 5 seconds. Honestly, my perspective on Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning is the fact that while it was a nice experience, the end result is kinda clunky and uneven. I don't know if that was due to the movie's behind the scenes production troubles, or the editor not incorporating the movie's reshoots in properly, or a little bit of both. But it definitely feels uneven. At the very beginning, it doesn't feel like it flows fluidly from the last movie into this one, as if there was supposed to be some events that were supposed to happen off screen, but yet were never addressed. There's also a lot of weird story arcs in this movie, or lack thereof. Gabriel, who's supposed to be the central villain, maybe, went from worshipping and dedicating his life to the entity in the last movie to wanting control of the world and basically becoming a maniacal maniac by the very end. He takes pleasure in trying to kill Ethan Hunt in a way that he wouldn't have in the previous movie, or even at the very beginning of this movie for that matter. I'm still trying to accept the fact that Gabriel is supposed to mean anything in the overall series. Dead Reckoning made it seem like he was supposed to be one of the most significant people in the franchise's history, especially for Ethan's character, but his lack of an appearance in this one just kind of felt like, eh. Then there's Luther, who, spoiler alert, does die, yet it has nothing to do with his mysterious condition at the beginning of the movie. He's hooked up to something, and it can be assumed that he's dying from some kind of fatal condition or whatever, but yet his poor health is never really explained at all. His death occurs not even halfway through the movie, and when he does go out and literally a blazing glory, no one really says anything about the matter because we've got to move on with the mission, I guess. All Ethan does is shed some tears, but that's about it. This is the second movie in a row where a significant character dies, and not much time is spent on the matter. Ilsa was one of the most interesting characters in the franchise's history, and then she just kind of dies in Dead Reckoning, and they spend maybe a minute ruminating on the matter, and that's about it. This movie faces a similar dilemma, but Luther was a character around since really the beginning of the movie series, so you'd think that there'd be more impact around his passing, but not really, I guess. Then there's Paris's lack of an arc, who is set up with revenge and wanting to kill Gabriel, but nope, Tom Cruise has to do that for her at the end. The movie also makes the entity AI seem a lot more stupid this time, or maybe it's just me, I don't know. What this movie does set up is the fact that Ethan was the franchise messiah literally the whole time. I know he's the main character throughout these movies, but there are other heroes too, so I don't think it's fair that Ethan is now the one basically who saves the entire planet from its own destruction, all credit due solely to him. I don't know if that's Tom Cruise's ego or what, but maybe that's why some characters like Benji definitely had less to do this time around. They also attempt a romance between him and Haley Atlow's Grace, and while it's always nice to see Haley on screen, I'm not really buying their chemistry, or lack thereof anyway. He also doesn't die, something maybe that should have happened in this to really solidify that this is the last entry. At the very end with his last fight scene with Gabriel, Gabriel makes a comment that there's no more parachutes left in the plane before he dies, yet conveniently a second later there's another parachute for Ethan to escape in, and he survives to the very end. So much for that finality, I guess. The Final Reckoning also includes some very interesting connections as far as trying to tie in the rest of the franchise. We finally learn what the Rabbit's Foot is, something Mission Impossible 3 couldn't even accomplish almost 20 years ago, because, it's so hard to write in a brief detail or something. The initial impression is that the Rabbit's Foot is like a radioactive chemical of sorts, but it turns out that it was actually the source code for the entity the whole time. Okay, I guess. The movie also has a lot of callbacks to the first one, which I mostly appreciated since the first one is one of my favorites of the series, and actually is my favorite of the series. But some callbacks were better and more earned than others. We see the return of William Donlow, the one who gets sick in the first one so they can retrieve the knock list from the CIA vault. After that movie, apparently he was transferred to Alaska or something, and he apparently knew everything that was happening behind the scenes for the past decade, revealing the location and coordinates of the Sevastopol and everything. I find it redeeming that he went from being the sick dope in the first movie to one of the people that actually helped save the world in a way. Well, so Tom Cruise can take credit for it, but that's beside the point. Then there's the weird one where Shea Wiggum's character was retconned to be the son of Jim Phelps from the first movie. Okay, but what does that have to do with the overall story? Wasn't he supposed to be just a guy hunting down Ethan in Dead Reckoning, but now he's just related to one of the most significant people in Ethan's life for reasons? Again, what does this have to do with the overall whole? But speaking of connections, I'm surprised that nobody addressed Chimera or anything from the second movie. I guess they hated it that much, because Mission Impossible 2, other than like brief flashback footage, is not brought up at all. So yeah, that movie is just totally beloved and respected and everything. The editing and cinematography is also kind of odd at times. I don't know if this was due to reshoots or the fact that the production was kind of rushed, but it does stick out like a sore thumb. We also do get to see Tom Cruise do his rather breathtaking stunts again. He has to navigate inside a dangerous uninhabited submarine tumbling into the depths of the ocean, and it makes for a nice sequence and one of the best parts of the movie. But if there was one nitpick, there was an obvious line of ADR that kind of ruined it a little, but other than that, it was great. We also see him climbing around the biplanes as we see him do in the trailer, so that's not a real surprise there. Now, were these stunts as good as other franchise favorites, like when he scaled the skyscraper in Ghost Protocol, or broke into the CIA vault in the first one, or hung off the aircraft carrier in Rogue Nation, or did the Halo jump in Fallout? Well, no, those were definitely more exciting, but I do like these stunts enough. It's nice to know he still got the guts to pull this off. If there is another missed opportunity, since this movie wanted to tie others in the franchise together, it would have been nice to see the return of other cast members not seen in a while. They could have set up the story so that after Luther dies, of course pushed more towards the middle of the movie, the stakes become so high that there aren't enough people on the IMF team to help defeat the entity. You could have reasonably brought back Maggie Q from the third movie, Paula Patton from Ghost Protocol, and Jeremy Renner from Rogue Nation, because we haven't seen any of them since those films. And it's kind of weird how the franchise just forgets about those characters after a while. I know Renner was busy with Avengers stuff, and that's why he missed Fallout, and I know he probably missed Dead Reckoning because of his accident several years ago, but I don't see why they could have included him this time around. Fans would have been pleased to see them as well, but again, another missed opportunity. Overall, the whole thing is kind of a mixed bag at best. The execution of the final product is clunky to say the least, and the ending is also a bit vague whether or not this is the last movie or not. Suspicious is the word Dad said concerning the end when he went to see it. I don't know, maybe it should have ended with Fallout, as some people say, because the Dead Reckoning saga kinda didn't end up as high as it should be. So if we wanted to rank this in the overall scheme of things, it's definitely better than the second movie, which is no one's favorite, and it's possibly better than the third movie, but the rest are definitely better, and that's about it. So it's definitely lower than where I wanted to put it, but nonetheless, this is where the movie stands. I'm not the biggest fan of rankings, as people in this channel know, but, it is what it is. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this review of Mission Impossible, maybe the final reckoning, but who knows. I know that the review is a little sour compared to what it could have been, but hey, I didn't make the movie, I'm just giving you my honest opinion and review. Thank you for tuning in to 20th Century Dude, and hope to catch you on the fly. See ya.